Welcome back to part two of this incredible conversation with hospitality icon Mark Irgang. If you thought part one was powerful, just wait. This next half is packed with even more insight, inspiration, and behind the scenes stories you won't want to miss. Let's jump back in. Welcome to the Yes Show. I'm your host, Christine Trippi. Each week, we'll explore the life changing power of saying yes, along with hotel leadership made easy. Get ready for inspiration, fun, and sweet hospitality. Let's go. Let me ask you this because you're such your personality is so larger than life, and you're so friendly and so nice, and just all the things, with personality, but you're
Thank
also
you.
a brilliant businessman. So I want to ask you about this a little bit. You have a revenue strategy background, and also today, the state of the union right now for the
Mhm.
hospitality industry
Mhm.
is not as good as it can be. And our
Mhm.
international travel is down, our government travel is down. What
Mhm.
are you doing to help strategize to fill those blanks?
Yeah, listen, that's the $1 million question that
Yeah.
everyone's asking. Here's the facts. The facts are that international travel is down. I mean, that's a fact. But I will tell you, domestic travel is actually doing the reverse because
Okay.
people instead of people going to, overseas and all that stuff, and I'm not going to get into political stuff,
Yeah.
but no, I'm saying, but people are nervous traveling, all that stuff. Now people are saying, hey, instead of going to Italy, let me go to Napa, California, and all that stuff. So there is a lot of domestic travel. So we are focusing probably a little bit more of our efforts on local, domestic
Hmm.
staycations, things like
Yes.
that. And the other thing is you always have to, watch your financials. I mean, I am a numbers guy, so
Hmm.
like I loved accounting in high school and college, all that stuff. And so I feel like I'm pretty good with numbers, but it all comes down to watching your productivity, all the stuff we always talk about, watching your spending, because as I tell my staff, and this is Hotel 101, but if you're not making your budgeted numbers, you need to reduce your expenses. And I always tell them, I always equate it to personal stuff. I said, if I cut your paycheck tomorrow by 20%, like the hotel revenue may be down 20%, I said, you're going to change your spending habits. And I said, we
Right.
have to change our spending habits. So I always equate things to personal stuff so it hits home more with them. But we're doing a lot, like since my hotel, Marriott New York JFK, plug for my hotel.
Yes.
We're across the street from the airport, so we're doing a lot more interactions with airline people. Like JFK is going through a $19.8 billion renovation. What does that mean? A lot of construction teams, a lot
Yes.
of, so we're trying to, and my director of sales, Miriam Anna, she just literally came back from Curacao. She was at a airline, the name of the organization is called Campco, and it's an airline JFK organization that's very big in JFK airport. And she just spent a week with them doing networking, blah blah. I mean, they were having fun, but she was networking and talking about, hey, how you should bring your business to our hotel, things like that. So we're constantly focusing on what's right in front of us, which is the airport. There's so much business to be had there, but we are being smart about how we lure in the leisure travel. But our average length of stay here, because of the airport, is like 1.2
Right.
days. So we're getting the person who's either traveling the next day or they coming here and they need a place to stay over.
Mhm.
But listen, we have a great ballroom. We have a great food and beverage operation. We actually contracted out to a company called Concrete Hospitality, which does an amazing job.
Oh.
They run many restaurants in New York City and throughout the borough. So they've been fantastic, and our food and beverage scores are great. And as I shared with you, I think in my notes, very honored that we were the hotel opening of the year for Marriott
Yes.
International, the entire company. So very excited about that.
Yeah, since you brought that up, let's talk about that a little bit. For those of them, the people out there, listeners out there that are maybe opening a hotel, or you might be opening a hotel in your future, what are some of like give us one or two tips on how you achieved a hotel opening of the year? What made you stand out?
Well, the first thing is, as I learned many years ago, you're only as good as the people around you. And opening a hotel, I was actually the first person hired on this project, and I was here during the construction of the hotel. So I've been here from ground up. So
Yes.
that was great. So I had a part in helping with certain things, as part of the opening. Number two, picking your own team is
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
So the lesson there, Christine, is always never burn bridges and always tell people you work with, especially in your first 10 years, hey, there's a chance we're going to cross paths again. And
Hmm.
people that performed well for you, like when I was a front office manager, maybe someone who was a desk manager, you may hire that person to be your front office manager 5, 10 years from now. So I would say 95% of my opening team are people that worked for me, with me in my past. And guess what? I'd say 95% of them still here after, 2 years of being on the payroll. So obviously they are doing something right. I did something right picking them.
Yes.
Those are all important things. And the last thing is something we do that's very unique here is we actually used third parties to run our operations for multiple reasons. But we brought in like a food and beverage company. We actually brought in
Oh,
housekeeping company, and we're using all these third parties. So creating a culture, and this is difficult. I mean, creating a culture when everyone works for you is hard enough.
yes.
But when you're working for different entities, like you have a valet parking company, you have a security company, trying to get all those people to believe not only in the Marriott standards, but Mark's standards as a GM
Right.
and as a leader, that is very challenging. And I think what Marriott saw when they came here for our opening event, party, rally, whatever you want to
Mm.
call it, they saw a bunch of housekeepers and valet parkers and food and beverage kitchen workers, employees dancing with the GM on the dance floor, having a great time. And one of the senior VPs said to me, Mark, if you never told me that these were all different companies, I would think they all work for you and Chartwell Hospitality, which is my management company.
Right.
And I said that, and they said that is the biggest compliment we can give you because it shows you created a culture that everyone is kind of on the same page and all that. And we ended up winning that award. So it's the biggest honor you could win.
Hmm.
My ownership group, Soundview Realty, was ecstatic. The management company, Chartwell Hospitality out of Nashville, ecstatic. And I actually was away at a Skål event, and I was in Turkey and I was in Greece, and I'm in a restaurant, and I got two texts from my owner and my CEO, Kevin Green and Ben Marcus, and they were telling me that they just won the award, and I was on cloud nine.
Oh, I'm so sad that you weren't actually there.
I
Okay.
was okay. No, that's okay. Just hearing it put a smile on my face, and we ordered another bottle of wine.
Uh, there you go. All right, break down a couple things here. Because you brought it up, I have to ask
Yeah.
now, because
Go
I know
ahead.
everybody out there is wanting to know
Yeah.
what is one thing that you did that made those third party teams feel like part of the team? Like what is how did you manage that? Give us one thing.
Honestly, it's just being authentic. That's the best thing I could do. Is meaning I never approached it as I'm Chartwell, you're XYZ company. I never approached it as I'm Marriott, you're not. From day one, I basically, even though they were a third party, I said you're joining we're all part of the one team, the hotel
Yes.
team, and made them feel they were part of this one team and this one umbrella from day one. And as you could tell from this interview, I could be a little, crazy with my outfits and all that. I was wearing a mink coat during our dancing, and you could ask anyone here about Mark's mink coat. They'll tell you about that story. But I was wearing green pants. I was wearing green ruby slippers to represent the green scores of GSS and all this
Right.
stuff. And it was so they just saw me as fun, authentic, and welcoming. And I think Marriott knew my background, so they knew what I brought to the
Yeah.
table from all my Marriott corporate days, and it just worked. It just clicked. And
Hmm.
every single person felt extremely valued, welcomed. I did some of the training. Marriott trainers did some of the training. I did the opening speech. I did the motivational speeches, and it either clicks or it doesn't. And it
Yeah.
clicked, and we've
Kick
won
off.
two awards. Yeah, we've actually won two awards since we opened, and we haven't even been open a year and a half. So unbelievable.
I love it. So, two big takeaways if you're opening a hotel. One is you get to hire your own people. So, make sure you're making the right decisions with that and think about not only build relationships, keep them. It might be 10 years later. So keep in contact with people, get on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
support people, and just
yeah.
don't let those relationships fizzle because they might be hiring you, you might be hiring them. Okay.
And I just,
And
I
yeah,
just want to say one thing. Sorry to interrupt.
no, please.
My assistant GM that's here now, his name is Roman Babic. He was someone I had worked with in my past. He was the GM of the Marriott Courtyard down the street from this hotel, and I had not really even seen him probably in several years. He is an amazing leader, and I said to him, I reached out to him one day and I said, "Hey, Roman, I'm going to be opening this new hotel. I want you to join me." He said, Mark, I'd love to, no disrespect to you. He said, I like where I am. They're very good to me. And I said, all right, I respect that. I said, but I just want you to know I'm really eager to have you work here. And he's a pure select service guy, never worked in full service.
Okay.
So think about this. He's never worked in full service. And I'm like begging him
Begging
to
him.
come work and be a assistant GM of an opening, which usually is a veteran seasoned full service person. But I knew what he brought to the table and hard worker, integrity, everything. And I'm not joking. It's like trying to date a girl for like 2 years. I literally was calling him every couple of months, asking him for lunch, doing this. Finally, I broke him down. After 2 years, he said, "All right, I'll think about it." And then I'm someone who always figures out a way to say yes, like you.
Hmm.
And I got him to say yes, and he's been here since day one. Amazing, amazing. He makes this hotel, makes me look so good. Big part of our success.
Oh, I love that
Sorry, I
story.
interrupted you. You were going
No,
to say
no,
something
no.
else.
I love that was a great example of everything we've talked about today.
Yeah,
Open-mindedness. If you're a good
yeah,
leader in one aspect, you're going to be a good leader in another. Just because you haven't done that particular thing before,
yeah.
you don't want a job where you know everything. You want a
Right.
position where you can learn and grow. And if you're a good leader, you're going to adapt. You're going to
Hmm.
learn. So I
Yeah.
I love that so much. Now we have to get to your jacket.
Oh.
You've already mentioned it that you are the president of the Skål International USA.
Yeah.
And one, tell us a little bit about that and how is your influence and your perspective on the global hospitality and tourism change now taking on this role? Because you're not doing enough. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, when I'm not running marathons or acting in shows or whatever, but
being a fitness
no.
trainer.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but so first off, Skål, a lot of people don't know about Skål. It's the
Right.
world's largest travel and tourism networking association. It is, they have 300 clubs, 85 countries. They are all over the world. They're in India, Germany, Australia. It's amazing. And back to saying yes, I joined, I was a member like 10, 12 years ago. Someone asked me and I belong to the Long Island Skull Club. Each city has clubs. So I joined the Long Island Club. So of course, in this little club of 20, 30 people, they said, "Oh, Mark, do you want to be the secretary?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "Yes." Then of course it was, "Mark, do you want to be the treasurer?" I said, "Yes." Next thing you know, I'm the vice president. Next thing I know, I'm the president of the Long Island Skull Club. All right. So I do that. Next thing I know, I start interacting with the USA Executive Board for Skal, and someone says, "Mark, I think you should run for director of membership," which no one wants to do because that's, you have to try to get new members.
Right.
So I do it, and now I'm director of membership for 2 years. Then I run for vice president of membership. Then I go for vice president of administration. Next thing you know, I'm president of the United States for Skal.
It's so
So
amazing.
crazy, crazy. But
And the next thing you know, Liam Brown is your mentor.
And now Liam Brown is my mentor. Right, exactly. So, and I got to tell you, it again, just like saying yes to all those things, it's also changed my life. I have met so many people. I mean, number one, I wasn't a big international traveler, and since I joined Skal, I've now been to Izmir, Turkey, Istanbul. I went to Athens, Greece. Next year, I am going to Peru. Gonna go to Machu Picchu. I'm very
Yes.
excited about that. That's in September. And the year after, we're going to Bermuda and maybe Cape Town, South Africa. So it's really changed my life.
Mhm.
It's part of my being now. My wife, I use the word "skal" every day. My wife is tired of hearing it, but like I said, I just came back from Clearwater, Florida, hosting that event,
Mhm.
where Liam was there, and
Right.
um,
I
and
have
and
to
now,
pop in here. This is just
yeah,
another great example of exposure. Every time you say
So,
yes and put yourself out there, new
yeah.
opportunities come. And it's already happening for you in your new role with Skål. So I mean, it's so
No,
amazing.
yeah, you are, Christine, you are so on track and on point with this whole yes thing. Is that if I don't say yes to being a member and I don't say yes to being on the board of Long Island and I don't try to be on the board of the USA, I never become president. I never become president. I'm probably not interviewing the president of Marriott. If I don't interview the president of Marriott, he doesn't become my mentor. I mean, it's changed my life.
Everything.
Let alone traveling the world now, which
Yes.
is incredible. And um, I guess because I've established myself somewhat in Skal, the international board, asked me to just, help them with some things, which was an honor because, I'm just one country's president within
Right.
Skal. But they valued and saw something in me that I could be maybe diplomatic and
Hmm.
help them, with some facilitation and stuff. So I've worked with the World Board now, and the president, her name is Denise Grafton. She's from Australia, amazing woman. And the vice president of Skål International is someone by the name of Andres Hayes. He's the president elect for next year. He's out of the USA. He's out of the Washington D.C. club. He's an amazing person who will lead Skål next year. I'm just blessed to just like I told you, the theater group, they became my friends.
Hmm.
I became friends with all these Skal people, and one of their taglines is doing business among friends. So not and my hotel has gotten business. My just a month ago in April, one of the vice president of Skal for New York City, he heads up a Nepal Entrepreneur Association. He works with tourism in Nepal. He just had a $25,000 event at my hotel. I mean, it's incredible. So
Amazing.
there's business to be had. There's friends to be had. But
Hmm.
Skal has truly been amazing to me. I love the organization. I implore everyone to look into it.
Yeah, I'm actually
And
going to look into it. Yeah, I want to
yeah,
look into that.
yeah, and we're
And
trying to just find more interesting people like you to join us.
yeah,
So please
right,
join.
and
Please join.
yeah, and my saying yes to do the podcast, I for 5 years I was like, oh, should I do? There's so many, da, 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 da.
Mm.
And then I'm meeting people. We met at the Chartwell conference when I
Yeah.
spoke at your conference, but
Yep.
I wouldn't have known you as deeply if we didn't connect to do this, and other people. And I want to give everybody an example because you're so larger than life. And Skull might be like, okay, yeah, that's great for him, but I don't see myself doing that. I want to give a smaller scale example. When I was a GM at the Courtyard, I was selected, I think, because I think we get selected sometimes because of our personalities. But
Mhm.
I said yes to being the CMN champion for our
Mhm.
region. Nobody in select service was ever invited to those things and those fundraisers. They didn't even think of us
Right.
as a contender, if you will. And so I
Right.
became the champion for our region for full and select service, and that got so many people to know me in my region. Then from there, they said, "Oh, we'd love for you to be on our committee for Jewel, which was joining exceptional women and engaging leaders, I think
Mhm.
is what our
Mhm.
acronym was." And I held a chair on the Jewel committee, and it was all the community service aspect. So we did things at CMN, and we did the so again that, and then I was meeting people like Rod Steigerwald, if you remember him. He
Sure,
was
of
really
course.
high level in
Yeah.
Marriott and whatnot, and just more people like that. We had so many people came to talk at our events, and it just every little thing I said yes to gave me more exposure.
Yep.
So again, we all might be doing a great job, but it's who knows about you.
Correct. You're right. You're right.
So
Yeah. I mean,
take those risks.
it's true. If I didn't take the risk of going to the courtyard, if I don't take the risk of Skal, if I don't take the risk of, running or the theater, I mean,
Mhm.
my life is completely different. It's completely different.
Completely. Yeah,
Completely.
exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
who knows what's happening right now that it's going to be your total future that we have no idea about.
Hey, me saying yes to this podcast could change my life.
Exactly. I'm sure it
Exactly.
already has.
I think it has. I think it has. Just saying that I'm
Yes,
on the same screen as you, Christine, has changed my life. So,
and vice versa. Now,
no,
you're
no.
seeing so much on this global level with Skull. What is one global trend in travel and hospitality that keeps you up at night, worried, and then one that excites you?
I still think there are countries out there, from what I'm being told, that are just very nervous about traveling, for
Yeah.
political reasons, and they're shying away from traveling to the U.S.,
Hmm.
which is a shame.
Hmm.
And then I've also encountered people who make the assumption that everyone in the U.S. has the same viewpoints. Let's just keep it at that.
Right.
And so they're very scared of just again coming here. But having talked to many different countries within Skål, there are still a lot of people that love the USA, love traveling, are still going to travel, and which gives me hope,
Yeah.
and things like that. And I do think from I've attended a couple of presentations from Merit's Travel, Priceline, and it
Okay.
looks like international travel is going to increase over the years, but not to scare anyone. They're saying it may not come back to levels that we'd like until 2029, which
Mm.
is a little scary. But their silver lining is that the domestic travel will improve, which
Hmm.
hopefully will help. We listen, as a leader, that as a company, as a leader, you have to be nimble. You have to move, change with the
Yes,
times.
exactly.
So yeah, so to your point, we working with the revenue team and all the sales team, we have to just make sure we're putting our efforts into the right buckets
Hmm.
because of this atmosphere that's out there
Right.
internationally.
I think this is a huge message right here, and this is a great takeaway. That if we sit in a room saying, "Oh, this is happening to us, this is happening to us, this travel's gone, that travel's gone," we've already lost.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
COVID happened, and the people who pivoted and figured things out and thought differently survived. Okay. And the same thing, and this is never going to change. We're going to face recessions in the future. We're going to face things in the future. Sadly, it's worse when it's not because it's
Yeah.
because somebody's choosing to make these decisions for us, and it doesn't have to be this
Yeah.
way. That stinks. But we have to go, okay, this is where we're at. What can we do? What other things can we do? How can we think differently? This is not a time to get sad and get victimhood. This is a time to get empowered and think, how do I be a Viking and push through this?
100%, 100%. Yeah, Liam Brown used the word be an evangelist, just
Yeah.
preach about everything good with the travel industry.
Right.
He was just very positive. He said, start local, with your high schools, get them pumped up, and
Yes.
how great a career it could be.
I
Basically,
even
if
say
you have
start in junior high.
yeah, maybe. He said, if you have enthusiasm, the spirit to serve,
Yes.
and all that stuff, like you will be successful. And I truly believe that. And yeah, it's just it's Mr. Marriott, his, preaching to the world, which we all
Yes.
know. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
All right. So anything exciting, any emerging trends in hospitality you're excited about that you are using that you've just recently tried that maybe you have thought, oh, I don't know, and then you tried it and like, okay, I'm seeing it.
I am so glad you asked that question because we did not script this.
Well,
Obviously, the obvious answer is AI. Okay, so
mm-hmm.
AI and talking to my new mentor Liam, he said anything that complements and enhances the guest experience, Marriott will use AI for, but it will never replace the humans to do the interact, which I love to hear.
Yes.
So when he answered that question and said that in my Zoom interview with him in Florida at Skål, I said, "Thank you for saying that, Liam. At least I feel better that I can keep my GM job for another week." So he thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, I am using AI, and and just for the record, I am such a novice. I'm not even at like level one. I'm just starting to use it,
Hmm.
but not even I probably shouldn't say this on a podcast, but not even professionally. I used AI just this weekend personally. My brother turned 65 this weekend, and I created a song for him using AI. it
Perfect.
was it was the hit of the party, and it actually sounded like it's ridiculously professional. And I used an app. I put in all the characteristics of my brother, and I actually played with it and moved lyrics around,
Hmm.
changed the genres. But I got to
Right.
tell you, it was the most amazing response and result of using AI. And I only know that AI is going to rule the world for the next
I
5 years.
know.
And I will say, don't get caught up in AI because 5 years from now it'll be, GT or something
Right,
else.
exactly.
And yeah, but as someone once said, and we just had a presentation at our Chartwell event, and it was by a gentleman named John Elston. I'll give him a plug. He's a
Okay.
hotel guy who now is doing AI, and I had met him many years ago for some other reason, but he is brilliant. And he said there are basically five levels of AI, and level one is someone who like is just starting or doesn't even think it's important, whatever, and then you have to work your way up. So I'm probably level one right now. But he said if you do not embrace this, you will definitely be left at the train station. And
Yeah.
I totally agree. So I'm just starting my journey, and that's another thing saying yes to. I'm saying
Mhm.
yes to embracing AI, and I think it's only going to make my life easier, the hotel better, and it's going to make my entire life better.
Yes, I did a podcast episode, just a solo one about about AI, and it's called the Blue Line Brain, and how we can also be dumbing ourselves down, but we absolutely embrace AI. I
Mhm.
use it every single day, but
Mhm.
I started to see where I was starting to just be like, no, AI will be better, and then I was losing some of myself. So now I
Mhm.
put some parameters around it and
Mhm.
whatnot. I use it to help enhance what I do, not
Right.
create what I do. I create
Right.
what I do, and then it enhances. And that's just in content delivery and
Yeah,
stuff like
sure.
that. But for me, one of the things that we've been seeing is the automated check-in bots, if you will.
Mhm. Mhm.
What are your thoughts? Do you have those at the hotel yet, or?
No, we don't. And I'll be honest with you, like going back to my marquee days, we actually had we actually did a test. This is going back. We were like on the cutting edge. We
Okay.
had and I'm sure obviously the systems are a lot better, but we found putting it in the lobby and all that. A lot of people didn't use it, and then there'd be problems like the key wouldn't come out or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm sure things are more sophisticated now, but again, I will tell you, there's nothing like interacting with a person. Now, do I think AI can make the check-in quicker, faster, and all that? Yes, 100%, and we should embrace that. But I still think having that personal touch
Hmm.
of welcoming them to the hotel. I don't want a robot welcoming me. I
Yeah.
want a person. And what if I want any suggestions on, where would you go for Italian food? Again, I don't want to talk to a robot. And then when I'm at the bar, I want a bartender who has a personality like Christine Trippi, so can talk to
Hmm.
me and make my experience that much more enjoyable. So I am trying to embrace AI, and I think as Marriott and Hilton and Hyatt, I'm sure they will embrace it over time, but I don't see it ever going 100% robot, self-driving cars like in hotels. I don't see that, but I do see it enhancing and complementing the guest experience.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And it's hard for me with people like us to think of a good hotel check-in not involving a human. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
I just read an article about a gentleman who said basically went through the whole thing. He never spoke to one human. He checked in online, got his key online, went in through the side door, asked for towels online, like the whole thing.
Right,
Never
right.
interact with a human. He says, and I loved it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
but this is the thing we have to wrap our mind around. A perfect check-in looks different to different people. And we need to serve all the different people. So that's hard for us to hear.
yeah. Well, listen, Marriott has mobile check-in right now, so we do offer that. You could check
Yes,
in
all of
advance. You
that's
could use,
offered.
you could use your phone as a key. It's
Yes.
there for you. But listen, and you're right, we have to offer different things to different people. That's why when Mr. Marriott was asked the question at one of the conventions I attended years ago, someone asked him a great question. They said, "Mr. Marriott, why do you put a Fairfield Inn, a Spring Hill Suites, another brand and a full service all on one corner?" And he said, "I got to meet everyone's needs, and that's it." Because
Exactly.
he doesn't want to lose the business. So if there's someone who just needs a room, doesn't need a ballroom, doesn't, hey, I got the Fairfield Inn, it's great. And if
Mm-hmm.
they need the full ballroom experience, they got the full service hotel.
They
So,
need a
he
kitchen. They
he
got the extended stay.
right. So he agrees with your what you just said. And
Yes.
and you're right. We have to realize that it's not just Mark and Christine wanting to talk to every guest. There are guests that go, "Hey, I just want to get to my
Right.
destination, and I don't need to talk to anyone."
I'm an introvert. I don't want that.
Yeah,
But my thing around it all, I would welcome all of it with choice.
yeah,
If I check in and all I can do is check in by a robot, I'm
yeah.
pissed.
Me too.
Yeah. So that's it's balance. So if I go to Walmart and they force me to go through the self checkout,
Right.
I'm not happy.
I agree. You should have a choice. It's
It's
like anything in life. I want a choice when I go to my restaurants, and I want a
yes,
choice
yes.
when I'm in a business. I agree with you.
And I'm going to tell you something funny. You may know this, but this is a marketing strategy, if you will. Sometimes you might see like one fast food, like you're driving down the highway, you're going to stop or whatnot, and you see one McDonald's, and then you see Burger King building right next door. Like, why would you
Mhm.
do that? You got McDonald's right
Mhm.
next door. Well, this is such an interesting fact that if there's just one choice, people will pass it by because the choice now is do I stop or do I not stop? When you
Right.
have Burger King and McDonald's and Taco Bell and
Mhm.
Long John Silver,
Yeah, yeah.
now it's
Papa
not
John's.
will I stop? Now it's which one will I go to?
Right.
So
Yeah,
if
it's
you've
great.
got
Great.
four Marriotts on the corner, it's not will I stop at this exit? It's which Marriott is am I gonna stay at?
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
So that's
Yep.
a very interesting one there. Okay. I swear to God, I could go another five
No,
hours
no,
with
keep
you.
going. Keep going. Let's go. Let's go.
Let me round up. We're gonna do our question thing, but this is my last main question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to start all over again tomorrow in a different
Hmm.
industry or a
Mm.
different time, what would you say yes to now?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think I would be more this may sound boring, but
That's a
I think I'd start more on like the ownership asset management side.
yeah.
Because I got to tell you, when I was in the regional position, that was actually my favorite position of everything in my career because what was great about it is I could go to Hotel A and they would have financial issues, but their customer scores and employee scores were good, so I could help them with their financials. Then I went to Hotel B, their financials were good, but their guest scores were bad, so I could help them with that.
Yes.
And I'm sure you feel this way maybe every day, but being able to use all the tools in my skill shed is a very empowering feeling because guess what? As you know this, when you're a GM, you don't use every skill. Like you were saying before about the person who may not know about revenue management and
Right.
housekeeping,
Right.
so they may just focus on rooms operations all day, but you don't realize it. You may be really good at the financials and the other stuff, but you're
Exactly.
not using that skill set. So being able to, so if I was in like an asset manager and I could really manage everything to do with a hotel or operation, I would do that. Now, my believe it or not, I love sports. I do love sports, and when I was deciding what job to take, I had an opportunity to work in Las Vegas, and my mom said, "No, I don't want you to be around gambling."
All right.
but but I will say, I think being a director of casino operations at like one of the big hotels in Vegas would rock my world. I
Yeah.
think being around sports and things like that, and just because, as you could tell, you and I are chaos junkies. I
Hmm.
think being and if you were director of casino operations, you probably couldn't gamble, so that would be a good thing. So
Right.
so yeah, so I think being involved in sports and the chaos and all that stuff, I mean, I think that would be kind of cool if I had to do it all over again.
Yeah, and I also see you as totally a Jerry Maguire kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Bringing on the sports people like that kind of chaos too.
And if I wasn't doing that, I think I'd be doing what you do every day.
You're right. Yeah, maybe soon.
You never
Who
know.
knows?
You never know.
One day, because you have so much to offer the world of hospitality and the world, not just one brand, one hotel. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that for you totally. Now, as you know, every end of the episode, I always ask you a question from our previous guest, and you got a fun one here. Do you have a destination or a hotel that you would say is not to be missed because it's family friendly?
Mm.
Where have you gone that or heard about that is not to be missed if you're traveling this summer with your family?
Um, well, I give you two because one is never enough for me.
I
But
know.
I would tell I well, I mean, I just in the last couple of years, I've gone to both Aruba and St. Kitts, and I think they're both incredibly family friendly. Aruba is probably a little bit more upscale and all that, but I got to tell you, Aruba is one of my favorite places in the world. I've stayed at that Marriott probably 10 times.
Mm.
I actually went there on my honeymoon. And I stayed at the Aruba Marriott Stellaris Casino, which was the year it opened. That was the year it opened. It was when I got married. And Aruba is like the best place in the world.
Yeah.
Sand is great. And the thing about Aruba is I've gone in the summer, I've gone in the winter here, and people go, "Why would you go in the summer? Isn't it really hot there?" I go, "No, the weather there year round, amazing, unbelievable." Um, I
Always.
just went. I just went to St. Kitts for the first time. I've only been there once, but I gotta tell you, it was as pleasurable almost as Aruba, and it's a lot less expensive. I'll tell you that.
Oh.
So both of those places are great. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more culturally, I would tell you Italy, amazing. Again, it's a little tough with the family depending on your kids. If they're young, they may not like the sightseeing and all that stuff. But I got to tell you, taking mopeds through the Tuscany suburbs and ending the tour at a wine place, and having pizza out of a brick oven, drinking wine, doesn't suck.
Doesn't suck. Yeah.
Doesn't
No.
suck. And so again, I think there's a lot of places that you could go with your family and have a great time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Aruba, I have not been back to Aruba because literally it was so perfect
Mm-hmm.
that I'm afraid that I'll go back and be like, oh, it's like in my mind, it was
Yeah.
so perfect.
Yeah.
The water, the weather, the everything. And we actually were in a home while we were there, but we did hang out at the Marriott three that are right there in a row. And
Yep.
we hung out over there. It's Aruba's
It
amazing.
it is our it just and here's a side note. It is so much a part of my life, Aruba, because of being my honeymoon there and going there with my family. We actually rescued two dogs from Aruba and we had them flown to the United States.
Wow.
And I have those two dogs today. I got them in 2019, Benny and Kiki, mother and son. And I'll be honest with you, those dogs saved my life because they brought so much calmness and stability to my family during COVID because, like when things were great, going crazy and all that in the world, having those two dogs, relaxed my wife, my family, all of us, because they're the most loving, they're English Cocker Spaniels and they are the nicest, best dogs in the world. Besides shedding, they're great.
Yeah, that is now I love you even more. I didn't know that was possible.
Oh, it's
Oh
true.
my
I
God.
actually have video of me meeting the dogs in the cargo section of LaGuardia Airport at midnight because in order to be part of this program, you have to agree that within 24 hours notice, you would go pick up the dogs and you don't know when they're coming. They called me up and they said, "Mark, I need you tomorrow night, midnight, LaGuardia." I said, "I'm there." And I have video of them coming off the plane in their carts. Amazing.
You're freaking amazing. Did you see that movie with Mark Wahlberg where he rescues a dog? He went ran a race somewhere in another country and
Like is that the dog sledding one or
it's not sledding.
oh
I
no?
can't remember the name of it, but
Okay.
it's exactly your story practically.
Yeah, listen, and I'll be honest with you, I never had a dog growing up because I grew up in an apartment in Bayside, Queens. When I met my wife and my kids were young, they wanted a dog, so we got a dog. Unfortunately, my dog died when it was 10. It got a bad disease. So we were like heartbroken. I mean, I never cried as much losing my first dog. I mean, anyone who's out there knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then literally it must have been an act of God. One of our friends who actually, as a hobby, rescues dogs, called us up and said, "Hey, I know it might be bad timing because you just lost your dog, but I found a dog that's because we lost a Cocker Spaniel." And she said, "I found a English Cocker Spaniel in your favorite place, Aruba." And she said, "I think it's meant to be." We put in the papers and we got approved for the dog. And then something crazy happened. They called us and they said, "Mark, I know we don't have the right to ask you this, but would you be willing to take a second dog?" And I said, "No." I said, "I only want one. I don't want two." And they said, "Oh, okay. I don't know if it matters to you, but this is your dog's mother." And my wife started crying. She goes, "I can't break up a family." So
No.
we went from one dog to no dogs to one dog again to two dogs, all in blink of an eye. And I got to tell you, if I never got the second dog, I'd be heartbroken because the mother is the one that we added, and the mother son combination, they're just loving, amazing. The mother licks the face of the son every day, 10 times a day. They are just so connected.
I
And
can't take it.
no, no, the dogs literally changed our life. They are like our children. I have two more children now.
Another amazing, life-changing yes. You
Yes,
are the
that
gift.
was a yes.
Yes, you are the gift that does not stop giving. I love you so much. Oh my
You're right.
God.
I keep saying yes. That's
Yes.
you're right. I keep
And
saying yes.
that is what it is. There's every reason in the world to say no to half of the
Yes.
things we talked about. But when
Yep.
you do say yes, it opens up your world to so much. And then if you say yes and it doesn't work out,
Yep.
you can look back and go, yeah, that was one I wish I didn't say yes to, but I actually am glad because I know.
Right. Yeah. Like, listen, yeah, a quick thing is when I went to Cornell University,
Mhm.
hotel management. And when I was a junior, they had internship programs like most colleges. All my friends said to me, maybe because like you thinking I'm Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire, they said, Mark, you should go into sales. So I
Mm.
put in, just because my friends told me to, I put in, I want to be a sales intern. And I got sent to the Mayflower Hotel, beautiful hotel,
Okay.
Washington, D.C. And I did a sales internship. I absolutely hated it. I hated being a salesperson because
Oh,
even though yeah, I might be a little extroverted and have that Christine Trippi personality, I did not like trying to close a deal and be like a car salesman and all that stuff. So I hated being in sales. But to your point, by saying yes in the internship, I learned the most valuable lesson you can learn, and that is what I did not want to do when I graduate. And if I had never said yes to that internship, I probably would have graduated Cornell and told all the companies, including Marriott, I want to go into sales because
right.
everyone told me I would be a good salesperson. But because I did it and knew I didn't like it, I said, nope, I want to do operations. And I could tell that was the fit for me because operations is where I belong.
Yes, and the same thing for me. Everyone always my whole life tried to pull me into sales. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Okay, so what, Mark, is your question for our next guest? Dun dun dun.
Yeah, yeah.
You can think
I
about
guess if
it.
I, no, no, I was thinking about it internally, and the only thing I would ask is kind of stuff we've been talking about, and that is, what is the one thing that you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet or were afraid to do it? Because I think you should do it now.
Yes, I love it. Okay, this is so good. Okay, I'm gonna think about that for myself
Okay.
too. I'm
Well,
gonna think about
you
that.
keep doing that. You're
Yeah,
like jumping out of planes and all that stuff. But like for me, like maybe internally, I wanted to do the theater, didn't know it. I tried it. It was great.
right.
Running a marathon might be like, we all think about like being in the Olympics or doing stuff. But you know what? When you put your mind to something,
You can do it.
and believe it or not, like the day that I said yes to trying to train for the first marathon, my wife made fun of me. She said, Mark, you're a couch potato. You're never going to do it. And what I have learned myself and what people around me have learned is when you put a challenge out to Mark Irgang, you better watch out because I will try to make the impossible
Ye-
possible. And
Yes.
I've proven it in my life with the marathons, the theater, all this stuff. Even and when I went into that regional job with Marriott, everyone was like, Mark's too young for that job. It's too big a job. I was the youngest person on the regional team, and they were like, he's too young for this. And when I won Region of the Year and Regional Director of the Year, all of a sudden you prove all the naysayers wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing makes me happier than proving naysayers wrong.
Oh, me too. And you know what? You have it a little bit different than me because you're a man. But when you're a female with my personality, you can really you get a lot of people that underestimate you. I'll put it that
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
And nothing makes me more proud and happier than to surprise people.
Yeah. Oh, no, I love
And
that.
I always do.
And I'm sure you have all those people in your history that every day when you're doing your thing, and congratulations on all your success. I'm sure you're like, look at me now. Look at me now.
And I really don't think of it like that. Yeah,
No,
you
but not
think,
in an
yeah,
arrogant way,
not in
just
an
like,
arrogant way, yeah.
yeah.
But I do remember that, when people, didn't think I could do things because of my personality or didn't
Yeah.
think that I was business savvy because
Yeah.
of my personality or whatnot.
Mm.
But yeah, I love proving people wrong. So yes, don't
Yeah.
challenge us because we
Yeah,
will
don't
give up
do
on
not
it.
challenge me or Christine Trippi. I'll tell you that because you will lose. You
Yes.
will lose.
I have another side question that you just want to ask
Okay.
you. You
Yeah.
like me. I can see that you have become 14 different people in your marriage. Would you agree?
Yes.
I have as well. And you're
That's
still married
funny.
to the same person?
I am still married to the same person, and I'll
Me
be
too.
honest with you, we are, and I say this publicly, so this is not a shock.
Yeah.
We are complete opposites.
So are
There's
we.
only no true story. There's only one thing that we have in common, besides loving our kids and the
Yeah.
dogs and all that. But the one thing we have in common is we are both early fanatics, like time-wise.
Okay.
So the joke about me and my wife when we go out with other people is when we say to another couple, "Hey, I'll meet you at the restaurant at 7:30." They know because of our nature, we will be there probably before
Seven.
7.
Yeah.
So what happens is they try to get there at like 7:15 thinking they're beating us and we're already there 15 minutes and when they walk in they go, "Really guys, did you
Really?
have to come before it?" So we're both early birds and that is the one thing we really have in common, but we are complete opposites on every aspect of our life and we actually met on a blind date. That's how we
Oh,
met. Blind
love
date.
that.
So, and I think I told you, we met on a blind date at the Marriott Marquis. I proposed to her at the Marriott Marquis. I had my engagement at the Marriott Marquis, and I had my wedding at the Marriott Marquis. So the Marriott Marquis in New York is very near and dear to my heart.
Very.
It will always be important to me in my life.
Oh, hell yes. I didn't know that. But yeah,
Yes.
I can tell that you have become all these new different people. And I have too. I can't tell you how many different times I've become a new person, I think. And my husband's just along for the ride. That boy,
Yeah.
I don't know that I could have been as patient.
Yeah, no, I say the same thing. I say same
Yeah.
because every day I'm coming home and I'm like, yeah, I'm going like I just booked a flight to New Orleans because I have to present something for Skål, and I'm just telling my wife, yeah, I'm going to New Orleans next month.
Yeah.
I just told her yesterday I have a Skål event in New Jersey. Do you want to come with me? You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
mean, and then I keep talking about Peru in September, and
Right.
it's just yeah. She doesn't know what's coming out of my mouth every time I come home.
I know it. Oh my gosh. Well, there are just a million takeaways for people in this episode. Just a couple of things about opening a hotel, getting a mentor, and
Mm-hmm.
asking how what you can do for
Yep.
them. What else would you say are some of the huge takeaways for people to take action on today?
Listen, just don't think anything is impossible. And I mean that. Like,
Yes.
I'm talking everything. I'm talking in business. Like again, walking into a hotel that's the fifth worst in the company. Don't think you can't change it around. And again, don't you don't have to turn the Titanic in a day. It can turn. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
So and to that part on your personal life, like you could be the biggest couch potato in the world. If you put your mind to it, you can run a marathon. And
Yes.
what's funny about the marathon story is my best friend, my wife's best friend, when I told her, I want to run the marathon, she gave what you would think would be the right advice. She said, Mark, I respect you for wanting to do that, but why don't you run a 5K first, then a 10K? And she gave me the proper advice. But
Hmm.
I said to her, I said, I respect what you're saying. Her name is Meryl. I said, Meryl, I respect what you're saying, but if you know Mark Irgang or Christine Trippi, it's go home, go big or go home. So I said, I'm not going to get excited about training for a 5K, just being transparent and honest. And she said, all right, if you really want to do this, I'll give you a beginner's training program. She gave me the beginner's training program. And here's the side story to all this. I know this is going to blow your mind what I'm about to tell you. I trained for all 4 marathons without running one day on the street. All 4 marathons were trained for on a treadmill.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I never trained ever on the street. And do you know who remembered that? Liam Brown. Because when I met Liam Brown, when we were on the regional team together, that was 1999. And he goes, when I reconnected with him last week, he goes, Mark, am I making this up in my mind? Or did you train for the 99 marathon completely on a treadmill? And I said, that is an amazing memory, Liam. I did
Yeah.
100% on the treadmill, and I did that for all 4 marathons.
That's crazy because those two runnings are 100% different.
Yeah, very different. And of course, on the treadmill, I had the hills and I moved it up and down and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it is obviously very different running on the street. I give you that. And I'm not telling anyone to train on a treadmill. That's just the way I did it. Maybe that was my lifestyle because I was, out and about. But I trained completely on a treadmill for a marathon.
Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna put this into the world and maybe we'll manifest it. You and me on Amazing Race.
Whoa, that is so crazy because that is my family's favorite show. That is so funny. I swear to God, my wife last night said, "Oh, let's catch up on Amazing Race." My kids are like infatuated. You and I we would freak out people.
That would be hilarious.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You just manifested that. I don't know. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I don't know. We'll see what
I don't
happens.
know. We got to think
We'll
about
see.
that. Got
Yeah.
to think about that.
Well, there's so much juicy goodness in this episode. I have a feeling I'm going to make it a two-parter because I just want everyone to get it all.
Yeah.
But Mark Irgang, you are sincerely one of the most genuine, authentic, smart, brilliant, love of life people I have ever gotten the pleasure to meet. And I'm so happy I get to call you friend. Thank you for taking your time out of your insanely busy life to spend some time talking to all of our listeners because boy, they're going to get a masterclass today on how to lead and say yes and to love life.
I appreciate that. Those very kind words, and coming from you, that means a lot. And ditto back to you. Listen, you and I, we really like. I when you spoke at my hotel event, years ago, I remembered you. Obviously, I was one of 100 people, so I know it.
Right.
I probably wasn't as out there as I am maybe now with you, but just following. I've always followed your career since then. I loved your energy. I still love your energy. And people don't know that we reconnected, on that other podcast, winning the Top
Yes.
Banana Award, which we could
Yeah,
talk
top
about another
banana.
time. Top Banana. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on.
Yeah, you got it.
Top
Mine's
Banana.
out of reach, but I got it
Like
right
top banana,
there.
that's okay. So I have my top banana award. But anyway, so reconnecting and look, just me reaching out to you saying, "Hey, I think we have a lot in common. Let's just catch up." And you said
Yeah.
yes, I said yes, and now here we are on your award-winning podcast. So anyway, I'm enamored by your success and your energy. So even though you don't think so, I've gotten so much energy from talking to you. So
Well, I am so glad because I just want to give it back to you because you certainly have given it to me and everybody out there. You are a masterclass in our industry, and everyone is lucky to be able to tap into your goodness. It's just amazing.
I appreciate
I
that.
mean that so sincerely. I literally would love to come and shadow you one day at your hotel and just you can take tour me, let me hang out, watch what you do. I would love
And
that.
what's really scary is I really am like this all the time.
I know that's what I tell people too. I'm like, no, this is really what I'm like.
This is I know and it's scary to people. I know it's scary to people, but
You are
yeah,
just
again,
a brother from another mother.
I am.
And
I
I'm
think
so
we're gonna
glad.
I think we're gonna be connected, Christine, for a long time.
A long time. Yes, my
Yeah.
darling. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go, get back to your day. And
Okay.
I just cannot thank you enough for being here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
That's a wrap for today's show. Say yes to taking action and changing the world one yes at a time. And oh, my friend, will you say yes to review, like, and subscribe? The more yeses you give, the more juicy goodness I can bring to all of you wise pineapples. Cool or cool?